said on the Saturday that the three bodies it received from the Gaza the night before were not the hostages held in the Palestinian territory, as a Hamas security source reported fresh strikes in the south. Despite the occasional flare ups, a fragile truce has been holding in the Gaza since the October 10th, based on the US brokered deal centered on the return of all the Israeli hostages, both the living and dead. Also, the Israeli military told the Millennium that a forensic analysis revealed that the three bodies it received via the Red Cross on the Friday were not those of any of the dead captives still to be handed over as part of the ceasefire deal. Also, the Hamas armed wing said that the Saturday that it had handed over bodies it had not positively identified, alleging Israel had declined its offer to provide samples for the testing and demanded the bodies for examinations. We handed them over to preempt any enemy claims, the Ezzedine al-Qassam brigade said. After the start of the truce, the Hamas returned the 20 surviving hostages still in its custody and began the process of returning the remains of the dead. Of the 17 bodies returned since the start of the ceasefire, 15 were the Israelis, one was Thai, and one was Nepalese. Also, Hamas returned another unidentified body that had not been listed among the 28 missing, as well as the partial remains of the dead Israeli hostage who had already been recovered early in the war. That incident drew outrage in Israel, which said that the group had violated the agreement by returning the partial remains rather than the body of another hostage. The Israel has also accused Hamas of not returning the dead hostages quickly enough, but the Palestinian group says that it will take time to locate remains buried in the Gaza's ruins. Also, in its statement on the Saturday, the Al-Qassam brigades called on the mediators and the Red Cross to provide the necessary equipment and personnel to work on recovering all the bodies simultaneously. Hamas and the Israel, meanwhile, have traded accusation of breaking the ceasefire. Also, a Hamas security source told the Millennium on the Saturday that the Israel had carried out several airstrikes in the south at the dawn and that the warships opened fire towards the shores of the Khan Yunis. Earlier in the week, the Israeli military also launched its deadliest night of bombing since the truce after one of its soldiers was killed in the southern Gaza. It is with the Territory Civil Defense Agency reporting more than 100 people killed. Hamas denied it had anything to do with the attack, and the Israel later said that it had begun renewed enforcement of the ceasefire. Father of the five, that is Hisham al-Bardai, who recently returned to his home in the North Gaza Jabalia camp, told the Millennium Saturday that he had heard gunfire several times from the occupation forces during the night. The truce has begun, but the war hasn't ended, and the Israel's policy of starvation continues, he said. It is referring to the Israel's strict blockade on the entry of supplies into Gaza, which it eased after the ceasefire went into effect. Like many Gazans who moved back to the neighborhoods previously under excavation orders, the Bardai found a collapsed building where his home once stood. Despite the widespread destruction in the Jabalia camp, people are starting to return, even though the situation is dangerous for now, the 37-year-old said. Also, the implementation of the later stages of the US President Donald Trump's ceasefire plan has yet to be agreed, particularly as it concerns disarming Hamas, establishing a transitional authority, and deploying an international stabilization force. The force is expected to be drawn from a coalition of mainly Arab and Muslim nations and would train and support vetted Palestinians police and backing the Egypt and Jordan, as well as securing the border areas and preventing the weapon smuggling. The foreign minister of the Jordan and the Germany insisted on the Saturday at a conference in the Bahrain that the international force have blessings of the United Nations.